In the world of Kung Fu and Pokemon, speed determines the winner. Which is why, if you've seen any of my videos, you'll know I tend to favor speedy Pokemon. Which begs the question, could I still win if all of my Pokemon had 0 speed? To find out, I modified this version of Pokemon Emerald to do just that. And, to make things even more interesting, it's a hardcore Nuzlocke, because why not? Before we begin, let me know who is your favorite slow Pokemon. Speedy starts by choosing Mudkip, the blue blur. I figure I'm going to need tanky Pokemon for this, since speed doesn't matter, and my level 5 Mudkip is in fact slower than a level 2 Zigzagoon. I go a bit overboard for the first May battle and get Sonic to level 8, so he wins in 2 tackles, barely taking any damage. With Pokeballs in my belt and shoes on my feet, I am finally able to start catching these remarkably slow Pokemon. After catching Greyhound the Poochyena, I realized something that should have been obvious, but I didn't consider it. With 0 speed, running away from wild Pokemon is quite difficult, so repels are even more of a necessity than usual. Since I can't get them yet, Greyhound's runaway ability, which I generally consider a useless waste of space, actually does something good. I look on with envy as Wally is able to outspeed with a borrowed Zigzagoon. Man, you don't know what you got till it's gone. After catching Graboid the Wurmple, Velocity the Shroomish, and Motobug the Denkata to try and fill the void in my heart that is the longing for speed, I resignedly take my team of Slowpokes in to fight Roxanne. I normally outspeed all of her Pokemon, but not now. Velocity takes a Rock Throw and absorbs the first Geodude a few times, making Roxanne waste a potion in the process. On the second Geodude, she uses Stun Spore, just to verify that Velocity still does not live up to her namesake. Even a paralyzed rock is faster than Velocity. Through a combination of Absorb and Leech Seed, the remarkably fast Nose Pass does basically nothing, and Velocity wins with near full health. Before leaving Rustboro, we have a May battle. I skipped this fight last time I played through Hoenn, so I kind of need to do it now. Greyhound bites the Wingull a few times, but pivots to Motobug to leech life the Tree Gecko, and that was really easy. With her defeat, I jump on a boat that actually goes decently fast. And trust me, I know speed. I may not have it, but I can totally recognize it. In Dewford Town, I head straight to the cave, hoping to get a Zubat to use against Brawly, and I find an Abra instead. I do manage to catch him instead of him teleporting away, but Kadabra is probably not going to be very useful in this type of playthrough. For Brawly, Sonic starts the battle with a few Mud Shots, but after a bulk up or two, he swaps to Water Gun to knock out Machop. Meditite just spams Focus Punch, which is one of the very few things my Pokemon are faster than. Graboid the Dustox then makes his debut. That name made a lot more sense when she was still a worm. Either way, Vital Throw does basically nothing, and 2 Confusions finishes off Makuhita. I didn't even need that Kadabra after all. But you do need to subscribe to the channel, that way you get awesome Pokemon Challenge videos just like this. So learn from Speedy and quickly click that subscribe button, leave a like, and a comment as well. Leading up to the May battle on Route 110, I have several evolutions, like Motobug and Greyhound. I didn't realize Poochyena evolved so early. She's only level 18. She is obviously stronger, but on the other hand, no longer has Runaway, which is a bit sad. She quickly defeats May's Wingull, but right as Motobug is about to finish off Grovyle, May swaps like a chicken. So I too chicken swap, Mudshot Slugma, and then we're right back where we started, with the Fury Cutter defeating her ace. In case you didn't notice, even after several speed boosts, Motobug was still too slow. That's because, according to the maths, anything multiplied by 0 is still 0. And that wraps up our math lesson with Professor Nuzlocke. Before defeating Watson, I first need to crush Wally's dreams and aspirations real quick. Yeah, just like that. Now Watson can be a tough gym leader if you don't have a freaking Marshtomp. Sonic makes quick work of his first 3 Pokemon, taking only minor damage in the process. While she could easily finish off Manectric too, I want to show off my secret weapon, Shedinja. This guy is naturally really slow, but it doesn't matter who goes first if he can't be hit. But I did forget to give him a nickname. He is paralyzed, which sucks because I thought I gave him a Cherry Berry. But after 3 Screeches and a few Fury Cutters, Manectric is a goner. While stopping Maxie from blowing up a mountain, a plan that still makes no sense to me, Velocity shows off how fast she can punch. Priority moves like Mach Punch are the one way my Pokemon can actually go first. Sonic gets hit by an unlucky Magnitude 8, doing more than I anticipated, but she still water guns the camel. Sailing Stone the Graveler, then just rock throws the Zubat, and I have saved this mountain. Flannery shouldn't be too tough. After all, she's been a gym leader for like a whole day. Sonic starts with a mud shot on Numel, and then the Slugma too. I pivot to Roadrunner the Pelipper to water gun Camerupt, making her waste her healing items, and then I need to wait out the sun. Of course, the forbidden love between this bird and camel is just too much, and Roadrunner refuses to attack 4 times in a row. This means I need to let the dogs out because she resists the unbelievably attractive camel. I then pivot into Sailing Stone on Torkoal's overheat that almost straight up kills him. Sonic can tank the next overheat, but Water Gun is pathetic in the sun. And, of course, she is paralyzed by a body slam, because why not? I use Roadrunner as a sacrifice to bring out Greyhound. After seeing how weak a dig is, it becomes clear to me that this battle is not going my way. She faints, and Sailing Stone does get a magnitude 5, but that's not nearly enough, and is then Sunny Day overheated again. Sonic is fully paralyzed and doesn't even put up a fight before giving up. So yeah, I completely wiped on Flannery. More accurately actually, on her Torkoal, because everyone else was pretty easy. I'm not going to restart the run after this wipe, because I don't really want to, and you all gave me the validation I needed to keep it going. Still, the major reason I lost so horribly is because I was on a road trip without internet access at the time. So I wasn't able to do any damage calculations, and I figured that I had enough of my bases covered, what with a Marsh Tomp, a Graveler, and a Digging Mightyena. After all, she was only Flannery, right? She's not that tough. Of course, that was a poor decision, and it cost me 3 awesome Pokemon and a Pelipper. Anyway, after putting them into the box, the dregs I'm left with in the PC don't feel like enough, so I backtrack all the way to Dewford Town to get an old rod. I normally don't bother getting this crappy rod, but I kind of need it right now. With it, I catch the water types Magikarp and Tentacool. With a brand new team, I'm ready to go again. I lead with Gonzalez the Lanoon to Headbutt. She takes some damage, but manages to waste a Hyper Potion too. She then falls to a Sunny Day overheat by the Slugma, so I bring out Horse the Numel, who gets a magnitude 9. I pivot to Nessie the Gyarados to intimidate the Camerupt, and then to stall, before swapping to Kraken the Tentacool, who is immediately drawn to this beautiful beast. What is with this Camerupt? He manages to hit through his Blind Love with a few Bubble Beams for the win. I sack him against the Torkoal to do some damage, and bring out Horse to Magnitude, even though he immediately falls to a Sun-boosted overheat. The only guy left alive on my team right now is Nessie. He gets paralyzed, but I was prepared after what happened to Sonic, and he Dragon Rages for the win. I never realized how tough Flannery would be if her Pokemon weren't as slow as dirt. Combine that with the 140 power overheat, and I was in a world of hurt. In the end, I did get the 4th badge, but was the price of 7 Pokemon worth it? Having learned my lesson with the Fire Lady, I go into the normal gym battle with a foolproof, or should I say Nuzlocke Joe-proof, strategy. Velocity takes a weak Psybeam and has a Person Berry just in case. This lets her bulk up and then Mach Punch the Spinda. The attack boost was necessary to one-shot Vigoroth, as well as Lanoon. For slacking, I pivot to Shedinja on a counter. Good thing I didn't Mach Punch, huh? He uses Screech once, and baits out a feint attack that Velocity can tank. Thanks to this loafing turn, Velocity gets 2 Mach Punches, and that's all she needs. Just in case something went wrong here, I did have Graboid the Dustox to protect Stall against slacking, but my plan A worked perfectly. After defeating the Team Aqua Grunts, I have another May battle. It's been a while since the last one. The last time we fought, I still had all of my Pokemon to choose from. In spite of amnesia, a rain-boosted Surf from Nessie takes out her Lava Grimer. Her Lombre is Dragon Raged a few times, and Grovyle is easily defeated thanks to a wing attack from Dracule. For the Winona battle, all of the lessons I learned from Flannery are thrown out the window because I want to try a stupid and dangerous plan. You see, I just caught Cottontail the Azumarill, who just so happens to learn Defense Curl and Rollout. The universe is basically demanding a rollout sweep, and who am I to fight against the desires of nature? Swablu does nothing to Cottontail, but she baits out a Tropius, whose only attacking grass move is Solar Beam. So, yeah. Now Pelipper is a huge issue. You see, I didn't worry too much about the 55% accurate Supersonic. I thought having a Citrus Berry was more important than a Person Berry. I was obviously wrong. This stupid bird confuses Cottontail 3 times and never misses a single supersonic. After hitting herself a ton and eating the precious citrus berry, she finally takes out the Pelipper. That was rough. Skarmory Sand attacks, which is not great, but Rollout still connects twice, knocking out the steel bird. Altaria's Dragon Breath takes her down decently low, because fairies aren't a thing in this gen, but Rollout hits one last time, and Cottontail absolutely rocked it with that rock move. That was awesome. Aside from Pelipper, that is. In Slateport, there is a final rival battle, so I might as well get it over with. Turgo the Slugma begins by embering Tropius, which doesn't do all that much. After he gets burned, I swap to Dracule at the same time that May brings out her own Slugma. So I pivot to Sharknado, who is slower than this literal glob of magma, but still one-shots with a surf. Dracule comes back out to watch the Tropius fall to burn, and then Bolt sparks the Pelipper. Last is May's Ace, who she refused to let evolve. True Dracule wing attacks knock it out. And you know what that means? I never have to see May's stupid fast Pokemon ever again. I then head to Mount Pyre to try and stop Team Aqua, but per the theme of this run, I was too slow, just like all of my Pokemon. In order to stop Maxie, Velocity the Shroomish uses Mach Punch, heals a Swagger, and Mach Punches Mightyena yet again. Bolt sparks the Crobat a few times, and Cottontail comes out to surf the Camerupt. Of course, with Amnesia, he survives the hit, but then falls to a Double Edge. Trudging ahead to the Team Aqua base, I do defeat this Aqua admin, but was, again, too slow, and allow Archie to get away. How many times is this going to happen? Since I never get there in time anyway, let's take a break from these criminal organizations to fight the real criminals, Tate and Liza. Yeah, I don't know what that means either, I just thought it sounded good. Sharknado is ganged up on a bit, getting confused, and taking way more from Earthquake than I thought. Still, he screeches the Claydol as Night Fury, the Altaria, Dragon Dances. I then swap to Nessie to make the Claydol waste an Earthquake, and Night Fury gets a lucky crit, one-shotting that floating thing. Lunatone and Xatu both spam Calm Mind, as a Steel Wing and Dragon Rage fail to destroy the moon. Piccolo would be disappointed. Next turn it does work, but at the cost of Night Fury falling asleep. Nessie then takes a 3 times boosted Psychic and a 1-turn Solar Beam, bringing him down to a sliver of HP. He doesn't hit himself, thankfully, and together, he and Night Fury manage to finally take out that bird. Nessie heals with a berry, and immediately swaps to Tiger Beetle the Armaldo on a Solar Beam. At this point, I just need to stall with my second Pokemon, as Night Fury finishes off the fight. So I do some swapping, back and forth, hoping for Flamethrowers on Nessie, and Psychic on the Tiger Beetle. Eventually it works, and my practically dead Gyarados somehow makes it out alive. That battle was tougher than I had anticipated. Outspeeding is such a crucial part of my Nuzlocke strats. When it doesn't work, I'm kind of in the dark. Almost immediately, there's another double battle, but for whatever reason, neither of these Magma Loser Camerups have any fire moves, and as always, Velocity gets a free attack boost. He takes out a Mightyena, and even a Camerupt before running away from an almighty bat. Metang is actually useful here, and Psychics the Crobat. Cottontail surfs the Camerupt, and then rolls out on the Golbat, as well as the Mightyena. I was concerned about this fight because double battles can be unpredictable, but Metang actually did a great job, and things went as smoothly as they could have gone. For once, I get to Archie on time before he performs his dastardly deeds. Before Velocity can finish off Mightyena, Archie swaps to Crobat, who tanks the Mach Punch like he was a poison flying type or something. Bolt comes out to bolt the bat. After a bulk up, Velocity defeats Mightyena, and Sharpedo too. Now I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but a Mach Punching Breloom is actually incredibly useful in this version of Pokemon. I just wish that Mach Punch didn't only have 40 base power. So even though I got here on time, it doesn't matter, as I am too slow to stop Archie from using the red orb on the blue Pokemon that is Kyogre. That also doesn't make sense to me. The extremely speedy Sky Dragon, who would fit very well on my team, I might add, comes to Sutopolis to save the day. My reward for saving all of Hoenn is the chance to challenge the gym leader, something that literally every trainer can already do. Against Luvdisc, Bolt shrugs off a confusion to do what he does best. Bolt. This baits out Whiscash, who does not use Earthquake, which is weird. Velocity takes the time to bulk up twice, and takes out the fish in a few Mach Punches. She needed that attack boost to one-shot the bulky Celio, because Mach Punch is, again, not that strong. Have I mentioned that already? Against the Kingdra, Rolling Stone makes his series debut. In a recent Hoenn video, I had some major issues with this double teaming Kingdra, but I have a backup plan if Rolling Stone can't do it. Her first Ice Beam hit is rendered useless by Arrest, but the one after that freezes the Kingdra. Awesome! After a few more misses, she ends up the victor. Last is Crawdaunt, who eventually succumbs to body slams. Now I have 8 whole badges, and I can finally make my way to Victory Road. In case you were interested, my lame plan B for the double teaming Kingdra was a mind-reading Shedinja with Screech and Shadow Ball. Not the most exciting fight, but it would have worked. Trudging ahead to the Wally battle in Victory Road, I start with Rolling Stone to Ice Beam the Altaria and the Roselia too. Velocity Mach Punches Magneton after a Screech and a heal. Sharknado is immune to all of Gardevoir's moves and manages a crunch even after some double teams. I leave her in to surf the Delcatty, who barely survives the first hit, but not the second. Alright, with that loser down, it's now time to pick my Elite Four team. And this is a crucial choice because I've already wiped once. I don't want to do it again. Most of my team should come as no surprise, as they are Pokemon we've seen quite a bit already. First, it's time for Sydney. I use Cottontail to soak up the Intimidate, and then use a Brick Break. After a few turns, thanks to him healing, Mightyena falls, baiting out a Cacturn. This lets me pivot to Velocity on a failed Leech Seed. Now, she is flinched twice in a row, which kinda sucks, but eventually manages to use a single Bulk Up. That, combined with a Black Belt, is all she needs to Mach Punch Sydney's Dark Pokemon. And that wasn't so bad. For Phoebe, I start with Night Fury, and after a few Dragon Dances, and healing a Confusion, Aerial Ace the first Dusclops. This baits out an Ice Beaming second Dusclops, unfortunately, but that only does 2 damage to my fat Rolling Stone. She is promptly flinched by a Rock Slide, and then crit. Even with a Citrus Berry, she can't take another hit. Instead, I pivot to Velocity on another Rock Slide, and immediately swap to Cottontail on an Ice Beam. After many surfs, she eventually does win, though it was mighty close. On Bayonet, Night Fury takes a Facade, and baits out Shadow Ball for Speed of Sound. He in turn has a Shadow Ball, which one-shots this Ghost. Unfortunately, the Bayonet burns him, which is not great because Ghost is physical in this generation. That's compounded by the fact that I somehow misread Exploud's moveset and thought that he learned Rest at level 50, not 55. So I didn't get the TM in Lily Cove because I didn't think I needed it. So he can't cure that burn. Oh well. Thanks to Shell Bell, he does manage to defeat the Bayonet, but is in no shape to take out Phoebe's last Ghost. Night Fury does manage to deal some damage, but not enough, and I really don't have anyone to pivot to at the moment. So I'm afraid it's time to let her die. This battle did not go as planned, but one death is not the end of the run. I mean, I still have 5 Pokemon. Velocity comes out, uses a pretty weak Mega Drain that does just enough to defeat Sableye after she is crit. Okay, that was not a great battle, and unfortunately, someone's probably going to die in the Glacia battle too. I start with Cottontail, and after a Defense Curl, I'm sure you know where this is going, I use Rollout. She stays healthy-ish with the Shell Bell, but immediately misses on the Glalie. So I start it back up, defeating the first Glalie and the second Celio too. But the second Glalie is where Cottontail meets her maker. After all, she is exploded. There really was no way to avoid that. There was the possibility of swapping to Shedinja on exactly the right time with Explosion, but if I did it wrong, I would have lost a very useful Pokemon in the future. So I had to make a sacrifice. Sorry girl, you still did good. Now since the hail is still going, I still can't send out Shedinja. Instead, let's have a Walrein on Walrein battle. But Rolling Stone is immediately sheer colded because why the heck not? She was basically my strategy for the next 2 fights, so that sucks. Well, now I have 3 wonderful Pokemon to choose from. This is exactly how I pictured the Elite Four going. Walrein still tries to sheer cold, but misses once, and then uses Surf before the hail finally stops. With that hail gone, Shedinja is able to come out, ensuring I don't lose anyone else to a stupid sheer cold. I had toyed with the idea of somehow getting my Walrein to level 54 by the end of this fight so that sheer cold wouldn't have done anything, but it wasn't physically possible. I had hoped on luck getting me through, but that didn't happen. With the 3 Pokemon I have left, I am not so sure about my chances anymore. Things are not looking good. This means that my plays are going to get a bit risky and I'll have to risk some crits. Velocity begins with a bulk up against Shelgon because that thing always uses Protect. She needs another bulk up for what's coming next, and then wins after a few Mach Punches, though she does take a crit in the process. Here comes the first real risky play. At this health, Velocity should be able to handle a non-crit flamethrower from Flygon. She does, is not burned, and takes out the antlion with a return. Cool beans. Speed of Sound takes a double edge, and thankfully doesn't get hit again as Altaria Dragon dances right into an Ice Beam, who in turn heals with a Bell. This brings out Kingdra, who cannot hurt Shedinja. I'm not very good at anticipating the AI here, but the Shedinja uses Confuse Ray on the off chance that Drake swaps. And that's exactly what he does. The Confused Salamence then fails to hit Speed of Sound even a single time. That confusion wasn't necessary, but a crit from Salamence would have made me lose the entire run. Speaking of, Speed of Sound gets a return crit next turn, taking out the Kingdra. I'm not gonna lie here, most of that was luck, but hey, with only half my team left alive, I'll take the luck. Now Wallace is going to be a bit of a cheap battle. You see, none of his Pokemon can directly hurt Shedinja, though 3 of them can use indirect damage. Naturally, this means that Shedinja spams Double Team when faced by the Wailord. It may be cheap, but it works. With +6 evasion, this whale is screeched and falls in a single Shadow Ball. Tentacruel does know Toxic, but thanks to confusion and evasion, it never hits. But Shedinja's Reign of Terror ends against the Ludicolo because I don't want him to be Leech Seeded. And it uses Double Team anyway. A single bulk up return barely fails to kill this sombrero wearing plant, and after several turns, as he is trying to copy my Double Team strat, Velocity does end up winning. But in order to ensure our victory, Velocity makes the ultimate sacrifice, Mach Punching Milotic twice while falling to 2 Ice Beams. It's too bad that Wallace still had a full restore, making her death entirely pointless. Shedinja is immediately toxic, but heals it with a berry, and still fails to kill this water snake. So yeah, Velocity's sacrifice was kind of pointless. To not let Shedinja die, I swap to Speed of Sound Sonic, who avoids Toxic on the swap, tanks a Surf, and then hits with Return. With those 3 Pokemon gone, Shedinja has absolutely nothing to fear. Neither the Whiscash nor the Gyarados stand a chance against this almighty dead bug. And so, in spite of my worst Elite Four showing for at least a year on this channel, I still somehow managed to become the Hoenn champion. Those last few fights would have been a lot smoother if I still had my Walrein, but that didn't end up working out. Before we actually complete this video though, I need to go face Steven. But first, the Pokemon who were just too slow need to be put away, never to return. Having Breloom in there really hurts, because she was undoubtedly the MVP of this run. That's enough crying though. We have work to do in taking down Steven. Swift Fox begins the fight by one-shotting Skarmory with a flamethrower. She somehow survives Metagross's Earthquake, which I didn't see coming, and hits with a really strong flamethrower in response. After a Metagross heal, my Fox is not quite swift enough to avoid the next hit. But it's okay, because apparently Gyarados can learn Flamethrower. So that's an interesting move, and it takes out Metagross. Claydol falls to 2 Surfs after setting up a Reflect. Nessie is then taken out by Armaldo's Ancient Power, but Speed of Sound also has Flamethrower. They trade hits back and forth till Speed of Sound survives with 4 whole HP, until Cradily comes out to defeat him. Leonardo the Torkoal heals Confusion with a Berry, also has Flamethrower by the way, and then gets an Overkill crit Overheat. She doesn't take all that much from Aggron's Earthquake, but with a -4 special attack, this will take too long. So I bring out Mighty the Sandslash for this very purpose. 1 Earthquake later, and bam! Speedy has conquered the Hoenn region, as well as Steven. And let me just say, this was far tougher than it looked. Unless it looked like I was hardcore struggling, in which case this was an accurate representation of its difficulty. Anyway, if you want to try this Pokemon game where you never go first, then by all means, check out the Google Drive link below. Before leaving, it's been a while since I've done this, but I need to highlight how useful my MVP was. Breloom. In a world of slow Pokemon, Breloom was faster than them all, with the incredible powerful Mach Punch. Without that single move, There were so many battles, like Norman, that would have been incredibly difficult if not impossible. And the runner-up must be Shedinja. Without him, I never would have defeated Wallace. Anyway, that does it for this Nuzlocke. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next region.